In this video, I'll be showing you a different and more cost-effective VPN solution for your Helium hotspots. For those who haven't watched the previous guide, a VPN can help just about any Helium deployment get out of relayed status. This is extremely useful for off-grid deployments because it also works on cellular connections. You can have as many of these set up as you want. You'll just need to repeat the process for each miner. As I've mentioned in the past, there are many providers that we can use to achieve this goal. This time, we'll be using DigitalOcean. Because we do not have administrative access to the miner, we need to use something to act on the miner's behalf. While some other routers can work, I use the GL-iNet Mango routers because they are cost-effective and make the process extremely easy. I strongly recommend that you always use a hardwired connection for your Helium hotspot, and as such, you may need additional Ethernet cables as well. If you have multiple hotspots, you'll need a separate Mango router and separate virtual machine for each one. Now, this method can seem a little scary for those of you who are new to networking or Linux. I've done my best to distill this process down to be as copy and paste as possible. To demonstrate just how quick and easy it can be, I'll be showing you the steps by using copy and paste myself. Since the process contains considerably more text, I won't be able to fit it in the description below. Instead, I'll post a link to the write-up on our website. I'll also create a dedicated channel in the guide section of our Discord for these instructions. This way, it's easy to ask questions in the same place as the directions. Links in the description as always. Let's get to work. I've opened my WireGuard Rapid Staging Guide to the side of the screen. This is where I will be copying and pasting information from. I suggest you do the same as it keeps it simple. To start off, head over to digitalocean.com, create an account, and get logged in. If this is your first time using DigitalOcean, you will see some boxes that have simple instructions. Click the one that says Deploy a Virtual Machine. DigitalOcean. Because this is not my first time different. At the top, I'm going to click the green Create button and click Droplets. Now that we're on the same page, let's run through these options. First, make sure that Ubuntu 20.04 LTS is selected. Under Choose a Plan, select Shared CPU Basic, and under CPU options, select Regular Intel with SSD. Click the $5 per month option and scroll down. In the Choose a Data Center region, select the region that's closest to you. I'm going with San Francisco. Under Authentication, if you're familiar with how to generate SSH keys and want to do that method, this is where you do it. For this video, I'm going to be using a password. Make sure this password is secure. I'm going to copy this, and this is where we're going to put our first information into our rapid staging guide. Under VM username, I'm going to put root, and under VM password, I'm going to paste the password that I put in the authentication section. Scroll down some more and check monitoring. Under choose a host name, I find it useful to name this after your miner's friendly animal name. For this demonstration, I'm going to use Purple Tiger. And click Create Droplet. While this droplet is creating, you'll see a status bar here. When this is finished, it will change to show the IP address. We'll need that for later. We can now see that the Purple Tiger droplet has finished generating. If you hover your mouse to the right side of this IP address, there's a copy button. Click that, and over to the right, in the Rapid Staging Guide, we're going to click at the end of SSH root at and right-click, paste. Copy this whole line, right-click, copy, and now if you're on Windows, we're going to open the command prompt. For Mac users, you'll want to use the terminal. The easy way to do this is to press the Windows key on your keyboard and just start typing cg-nat MD. Press enter. And in this window, right click and press enter. Type yes and press enter again. And then we're going to go back over to this rapid staging guide and copy the password. Click back into the terminal and right click. You should not see anything here. Press enter. And you should be logged in. Next, we are going to make sure that all of the pre-installed software is up to date. This is important to do because we have already seen hacking activity on the network, and software updates often include a fix for security vulnerabilities. In the Rapid Staging Guide, highlight Apt Update, right-click and copy, and then click into the terminal window and right-click to paste. Press Enter. This command updates the list of upgrades available for the system. Fundamentally, it's no different than clicking Check for Updates on your phone apps. If we follow that same line of thought, this next command is like clicking the Update All button. And copy and paste it into the terminal as well. Press Enter, and then you will need to say yes, because it's going to take additional space. Press Enter again. This part can take a little while. While the software is updating, you may get a pop-up that says to keep the local version currently installed. All you have to do is press Enter. Now that all of the software has been updated, we just need to grab the reboot command and reboot. Now this reboot can take a minute or two, but we're going to grab again the SSH root at IP address and paste it back into the terminal. Enter your password again. Press enter. If you got a message that said connection timed out, that generally means that the virtual machine was still rebooting. Just try it again and it will work when it's ready. Now we need to enable IP forwarding on the server. This command takes the line that we type after echo and appends it to the end of the system control configuration text file. You can grab it right here. Copy and paste. To verify that that change went through, we copy the next command. And the tail command looks at the end of the file where we appended the previous setting. We can see now on the screen that we were successful in updating the configuration file. Now we need to load that configuration file so that it is running in the system. Copy the next line and paste. Press enter. If this is successful, you should get a response that shows exactly what we changed. This looks good. These next few steps create cryptographic keys for both the server and for the router to use. The purpose of these keys are twofold. They enable us to verify that we are connecting to the device that we want to be connecting to. The second purpose is to encrypt the traffic between these two devices. This might sound pretty intense, and it can look that way, but the program handles everything for us. To make our lives a bit easier, we're going to change to a different folder. Press enter. This command will generate the keys that we will use to identify the virtual server. Highlight it, copy, paste, enter. Now we will generate the keys that will be used to identify the router. These commands will print the output of the file to the screen. Take this key, highlight it, and right-click it to copy it. I recommend you just paste this here into your staging file. and move on to the next one. Perform this process for all 4 keys and make sure to note them all. Note to not share the private keys with anyone. Copy the server's public key to your staging file. And copy the router's private key. Last but not least, copy the router's public key. The next thing we're going to do is to create a configuration file for WireGuard. We'll do that by highlighting the nano command in the rapid staging guide and pasting it. Next, grab the entire section here, all the way down to endpoint from the staging guide, and copy this. Paste this into the configuration. And we need to make 2 changes to this file. First, under private key, we need to replace this with what is generated for your server private key. In my staging guide, I've pasted it below the server private key so that I don't get confused. Copy this. Make sure you click into the terminal or command prompt, and then using your arrow keys, bring the cursor all the way up or down to the section that says private key equals. We're going to use the delete key on the keyboard to remove this line. Next, go to your rapid staging guide and copy the private key that you pasted here from a moment ago. Then back into the terminal. Left click first to get the focus, then right click to paste it. Using the arrow keys again, press the down arrow to get down to this line that says public key. And again, we're going to use the delete key on the keyboard to remove this line. From the staging guide, grab the router public key. Should be the last one. Copy this. Click back into the terminal and then right click. This should be all that you need to change on your end. Using your keyboard, press Ctrl-O to save, and it's going to ask you what file name to write. Just press enter. And to exit here, press Ctrl-X. We're almost finished with the command line. Now we want to make sure that the settings that we just created were saved. Using the next command, grab this down here, less wg0.conf, copy that, and paste it into the terminal. If everything is here, including your private key and public keys, then you're good to go. Press Q to close this. Now that all of the configurations for the server are in place, we can set it to start anytime the server reboots. Highlight the next command and paste it into the terminal. Press enter. And you should see a line here that says created symlink. All that's left is to start the WireGuard service. So grab the next command and paste this in. There should be no output at all. If you see some kind of output that says something along the lines of failed because the control process exited with errors, go back to the wg0.conf command and just make sure that you've updated your public and private keys here. We can verify that everything is running with the last command. Copy this, paste it into the terminal, and press enter. What we're looking for to make sure this is running is that we see the word active up here. And press Q to exit. And that's it, we're done with the scary part. The next step is to get the Mango GL-iNet router up and running. If you haven't unboxed that already, go ahead and do so and connect it to power. While it is powering on, go ahead and get your Ethernet cables connected to your miner and to your main router. You will want the Ethernet cable coming from the main router to go into the WAN port, W-A-N, that's the one on the left. And you will want your miner's Ethernet cable to plug into the LAN port, L-A-N, that's the port on the right. When it's fully booted up, you should have 3 solid white lights on the top of the Mango router. Now to access the Mango router, we're going to click to connect to a new Wi-Fi. It should say something like GL-MT 300N. Go ahead and click connect. And the default password is GoodLife, G-O-O-D-L-I-F-E. Now that we are connected to our Mango Wi-Fi, we'll go back to the internet browser and type 192.168.8.1 and press enter. Complete the initial configuration and set a secure password. For the purposes of this demonstration, I'm just going to use the same password as I used for my virtual machine. Don't do this. Before we do anything else, I really recommend that you go into the wireless section and change your Wi-Fi key to a more secure password. Just click modify and then type the password here. Press apply. And this is going to cause you to have to reconnect to the router Wi-Fi. Refresh the page. Once again, make sure that your miner is connected at this point. The first thing that we're going to do is go to the Clients tab. And you can see that I have a Bobcat miner here. Grab the MAC address for your miner and copy that. Next, we're going to move to More Settings, LAN IP, and you're going to put your miner's MAC address right here. It may auto-populate, but if not, you can just paste it. Select the new IP address that you want it to stay at. For this demonstration, I'm going to use 2. Click Add. Now that we've added the MAC address, to set a static IP, we need to go to the top and click Reboot. Click Yes. And this process can take a little while. The reason that we want to reboot the router once we've changed the IP address is so that it starts using that new IP address right away. Finished rebooting, it will pop up and say router connection lost. Just click down and connect back to your Wi-Fi. This should automatically reload the page. Log back in. Next, we're going to go set up the VPN policies. The purpose of the VPN policy is to ensure that only the miner can go to your VPN. We don't want a bunch of different devices going to our virtual machine at DigitalOcean because that will slow the virtual machine down. First, click back to Clients and grab this MAC address again. copy, click VPN, click VPN Policies, and click Enable VPN Policy. Disable these next two switches, and in this field, paste that MAC address, and click Add. Click Apply. We're almost done now. The next place we're going to go is under VPN, WireGuard Client. Here we're going to click Set up WireGuard manually and click Manual Input. Under Interface IP address, we are going to grab this line from our Rapid Deployment Guide. For the private key, we need to scroll back up and grab Router Private Key. Copy that, and I recommend that you bring it down here. Paste it as well into the private key field. For the listen port, copy and paste 51820. DNS is not necessary. I use this Google DNS IP address. And for the MTU, I set it hard at 1420 just to be sure that there's no auto negotiation happening. We scroll down under peer, the public key. We will grab that from up here again, server public key. Copy that. And again, I recommend that you bring it down to this bottom part of the notes. Paste. And we'll enter it here as well. For endpoint host, this is going to be the IP address of your virtual machine. We scroll back to the top of the guide, and if you noted it here, you can just copy it. It's important when you paste this down here that you leave the :51820 at the end. If we don't put that, it's not going to work properly. So now select all of that and copy and paste that into the endpoint host field. Under the allowed IPs, this just looks like a bunch of zeros, so you might think it's not necessary. But actually what it says is that it can go anywhere. And under pre-shared key, we can leave this blank. Click Next, and I'm going to name this after my friendly animal name again, Bull Tiger. Click Add, and click Connect. As you can see, we have a connection. The final step is to port forward from our firewall. So we're going to go to the firewall section, and we're going to name this Helium. Under protocol, click TCP. Under external zone, we're going to click this, and then we're going to click WireGuard. If you don't see WireGuard here, it usually means that your VPN is not connected. Under external ports, we're going to press 44158. Internal zone needs to be LAN. And internal IP, we set that to 2 in this demonstration, so that's the one we'll select. For internal ports, we're going to put again 44158. And it should say status enabled. Click Add. And it says success at the top. To make sure it's working, we go to portchecker.co, and this IP address that it automatically populates will be the one that you're connected from. We need to test the IP address of the virtual machine. So grab that out of your staging guide and paste it here. Then change the port number to 44158. And if your Helium miner is connected and our configuration was successful, we can click check and it will report as open. Congratulations. Your Helium hotspot is no longer relayed. It's important to note that the Helium API is pretty slow to update, and the API is what everything relies on to give you this data when you go to check it on, say, for instance, the Explorer, or if you use app.hotspotty.net, or even if you use heliumstatus.io. All of these tools rely on the API to some degree. I hope you found this guide helpful in getting your hotspot out of relayed status. Note that the API can take over a week sometimes to update, so as long as you see port 44158 is open, you should be good on your network side. There can be cases where the blockchain is not syncing on your device, and that can prevent you from having good earnings as well. Once again, I will have this staging guide posted in our Discord community as well as on our website. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great day. Talk to you next time.